Hello, everyone. This is the Nameless One, and tonight we have another creator roundup. I have here with me tonight a lovely group of craft-type people. I'm going to go ahead and have them introduce yourself. We're going to start with Peruser. You've been here before, so people remember you, but go ahead and reintroduce yourself. Your name, what you do, and favorite pony.
Sure thing. I'm Peruserofpieces. Been in the Brony fandom since 2011. Been making pony plushies since 2013. And best pony is Fluttershy. Yay.
Yay.
The yay just kind of seals it. Hey, Melee, your turn.
Hi, I'm Melee. I'm told I talk a lot. I do things. I do arts. I do not do words. Apparently.
Apparently not.
I do the doodles. I do the arts. I do the enamel pins and a lot of custom stuff. Best any horse is Luna. Fluttershy's a good second though.
Okay. And Rubio, being the new person on the stream. Your turn.
I'm Rubio Wolf. I've been in the fandom since early 2013. Started making pony plushies late 2013, and best pony is Pinkie Pie.
Okay. So for those of you that are watching, if you enjoy seeing people like this up on the podcast and seeing what other types of creators are out there, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all that good stuff. Check out all the links in the description. There are links for all of the people here, as well as links to my open Discord. I'll say that again. It is an open Discord, because people seem confused by that. As well as my Patreon. I'll have more information about that stuff at the end. For now, let's go ahead and we'll jump straight into the first question. And I think let's start off with a more interesting one. What is, for those of you that do a lot of the craft stuff, which should be all of you,
Let's say, but who else would be here if it wasn't us?
Anyhow, what would you say is the weirdest thing you've made so far? And we'll start with Rubio.
Oh boy, the weirdest thing I've made. I don't know if I've actually made anything really weird. Yeah, I can't think of anything like really strange or weird or anything that I've made. Yeah, I got nothing.
Nothing different, nothing just doesn't seem like it would mix with what you normally do?
Nope, nothing that comes to mind.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's okay. I wasn't expecting I have never made anything weird, so...
I mean, I can't honestly think of anything, off the wall, like, why am I making this kind of scenario? So, yeah.
Okay, Peruser, how about you?
I don't know if weird is the right answer. I had someone ask me to make a alicorn rarity beanie once before. I kind of didn't really get a whole lot. It is different. I don't know that I would call it weird. I don't know if I have anything truly weird either. I've had people ask me for like different things than what I usually make. I've made a set of hand puppets for someone once before.
Okay, I just was looking at the slideshow, and I feel like the detachable ears on one of your ponies, Rubio, may qualify as weird.
Well, so that was kind of a funny not collaboration, but I blame one of my friends for kind of sticking the idea in my head because of the whole does Jazz have ears or not, because of the whole animation clipping and whatnot, and his thing on it, and I hope he's listening because it's all his fault, that if Jazz has ears, then she's a changeling. So I got the idea of, okay, let's do magnetic ears, so that way if somebody wants her to have ears, she can have ears, and if she doesn't, she doesn't.
I take it that your friend is listening, because somebody just said my fault in the chat.
I don't know. I thought that was a pretty banging idea to me.
I mean, it does qualify for weird. It's not like, oh my god, why the hell am I doing this? But it's different.
True.
So with that in mind, Peruser, you got anything else, or is the hand puppets as strange as you got?
No, that and the Alicorn Rarity. I mean, I really wouldn't call either of them weird or strange, just a little bit different.
I mean, that qualifies as weird in my book, but anywho, I feel like Melee may have some more stuff. Do you have some weird stuff you've made, Melee?
Absolutely not. I'm literally going through my gallery of things that I've made, and I'm like, no one has asked me to make anything.
Okay,
I am very boring by myself as far as like designing or drawing or doing anything. I don't get creative like other people do, which I honestly should. But no, I keep it boring, bland, no weird. I mean, if we want to, if we want to go, if so, right when I started doing pillows, DJ was like, you should also make some dockies. So I drew those as well. All fine, nothing weird about those. But then DJ wanted, I guess I didn't really make this. Someone else drew it, and I was like, okay, I sent the money off to have it be made itself. So I guess I quote unquote made and not safe for work docky pillow for DJ so he can have it on our bed. And I'm like, well, this is on our bed now. So if you want to consider that weird, sure. But no, other than that, it's been pretty plain Jane. I have an inappropriate pillow of me on our bed now.
I mean, considering the sheer number of things I have commissioned for my character, I don't think commissioning things of your own character is weird, so...
I mean, but I didn't commission it, though.
Well, I can't make that kind of stuff, so all of my stuff comes commissioned. Okay, so I've got a few more questions, but I just gotta say thank you to Harrison Peloso for the super chat. I very muchly appreciate it.
I did a pillow for them.
Well, they say plushies for days, so... Anyway, so... Melee, I'm going to ask these two the question first, and then rephrase it for you.
Oh, lovely, okay.
I should probably move that alert box
I get a
so it actually shows up. There we go. I like how the alert box waited for like 10 minutes before it told me. Anyway, for my two plushie makers,
Yes.
what is the biggest / most expensive thing that you have had to make and have completed thus far?
Ooh. Okay. So, do you want me to go first, Rubio, or do you want to go first?
Go for it.
Okay. So I've got several answers here. The biggest thing I've ever made, well, you said biggest / most expensive thing, right?
Yeah, that you have completed and sent out or have sitting on a desk.
Okay. Well, the biggest thing that I've finished so far was a life-size Trixie. She's about 40 inches long and about 2 feet tall, laying down. Surprisingly, she only weighs about 10 pounds. I was very surprised by that. I expected her to weigh a lot more. And I charged $1,200 for her. But the most expensive plush that I've made, as far as just what she went for, was a Lion Jack plush that DJ actually owns. Melee has Lion Jack in her house.
I've actually I've seen that one.
Yeah, she went up for auction, and I guess I can say the amount. It went for $1,350 in an open auction, and DJ was very, very proud of that.
Yes, he was. I mean, it's a pretty badass plush.
Thank you.
I have never. I think this is the only. She's the only Lion Jack plush I've ever seen, and it's like I just said, it's badass.
Aw. Well,
he's proud of it too. I remember the day he texted me. He's like, "I just want a Lion Jack auction." He wanted it so bad, and he wanted it so bad. He was like, I need this freaking plush. And then he told me he got it, and I'm like, oh my god, why are we enabling this man? He has enough plushes.
Never enough.
But
now,
yeah,
I agree with Rubio. Never enough.
Never enough. Now, I did make something else in my early days that did not sell, sadly. It was like the second plushie I ever made. It was a vinyl scratch that was set up behind like her turntable and the two great big speakers that she had at the Canterlot wedding. And I made that whole setup system, and it was gigantic. And I don't remember how big it was. I still have it because I couldn't get it to sell. It was when I was first getting started making plushies. And I've had it for so long at this point that it's just
You'll
it's
never
just mine
believe
now.
this, Bruce. I was hanging out with Melee and DJ, and he actually mentioned that one.
He did. I know he did, because he asked me if I would make a new updated version of it for him sometime. So that's in the pipeline.
We'll ask questions about things that you have planned later. For now,
Okay.
Rubio, your turn.
So my biggest and most expensive plush was the same one. I made a 23-inch standing Autumn Blaze for BronyCon 19. And yeah, that was my most expensive singular plush that I've sold.
So, I'm just gonna say this based off of what I've seen of the plush makers out there. You were like the Kieran plush maker, because like I see the most Kieran plushes coming from you. Actually,
well,
I
better
own,
make more Kieran.
I actually own your. You did a little Pip Kieran for one of the Everfree Northwests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, I have that one. Any other ones that you might want to? Any honorable mentions you want to bring up, or?
Honorable mentions. Let's see. I did make a 23-inch Starlight Glimmer for BronyCon. I don't remember how much I sold her for, but she ended up going to one of my good friends. He actually ended up with 3 of my giant ponies at BronyCon. So, yeah, those are. I really want to do. Yeah, I want to make a large Izzy at some point, but I just haven't gotten around to her yet.
Okay. Melee, your turn. So you don't do plushies yet, TM. But I know you do pins, so we're going to ask the question, a very similar question, the biggest / most expensive pins you've made so far. Or designed, I guess, would be more accurate.
So I'd say the as an individual pin standpoint, so just one pin. I guess my phases pin was the most expensive one I did. I did not even send you that one, but it's the Luna pin that just has her in different phases of her life. That one,
I think
only ordered.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one before.
Yeah, that one I only ordered 50 because she's expensive. I think she was 5. I have to go back and look at like the dimensions, but she was the biggest size that my manufacturer could make because I wanted to have all the details I put inside that pin come out as clear as possible. So I think it was like almost 6 inches wide. Glow in the dark, glitter, stained glass. I think for 50 of those, it was... Oh, here's the order right here. I paid $850 for that.
Oof.
Now, granted, she sold well. I didn't have a single one left after all pre-orders and stuff went out. So, profit was great. It was well. I'm sad I didn't make more, but for his individual pins go, that was expensive. Now, as far as sets go, because I've made pin sets, Ponytail Pride was my most expensive, most ambitious pin set project I've done. It was 28 pins, varying from 2.5 to 3.5 inches, 50 each, almost $8,000. And I did a Kickstarter for it, so most of the money came from that, and I was so happy with that. But it only raised $7,000, but Kickstarter takes so much fees and crap out of it, so I only got like 6.5, and then I had to foot the bill for the rest of the pins to be made. So it was like it wasn't great spending so much of that money, but just like the phases, it all panned out. Everyone loved them. Sold out of a few. The first go around, I had to order some more. Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that many pins at one point ever again.
Yeah, that's a lot of pins.
And this was all before we had to road trip to Everfree last year, and I had to grade every. I'm a perfectionist. I graded each and every pin individually by hand, and then I killed myself for this, and then I took I backed each and every single one of those individually. So I had to take all the backers off, but yeah, that was fun. Never again though.
So, next question, and this is for all three of you. Is there something that you haven't had an excuse yet to make, but really want to? Whether it be a character or just like a crazy idea in relations to like either plushes or for melee pins and pillows. Melee, I already know you're working on learning to plush make, so. Peruser sounded like he had a.
I gotta learn.
Peruser sounded like he had a thought there, so we're gonna let him go first.
So, you asked things that we want to make, or that we don't have a reason to make, but we want to make.
Yeah,
that was your question.
Something like if you're a spitball an example, if you're a real fan of like Cozy Glow, we'll use that as an example. But there's nobody wants a Cozy Glow, and you just haven't had the time or the reason to do it for yourself. So something like that, or like go all out crazy. And I was talking to DJ who described doing Sweetie Bot, but like with all of the add-ons.
Ooh, yes. He's talked to me about that before too.
I am not surprised.
So, crazy thing that I want to do that I don't know if I'll ever get to or not is ultimately, this is like a long-term goal. I would like to make a plushie of every single major and background character in the show. So any character that has ever gotten any amount of love in the fandom, or like has a name, or just anybody loves them whatsoever, I would love to make them.
Can I
would love to
Sven Gallop?
just do what?
Sven Gallop. I want a Sven Gallop.
I would totally do Sven Gallop. Yes.
I need his bitchiness to just
Yeah, that is a very lofty goal there, because there's a lot of characters and a lot of ones that just like they may be like recolors of other characters, but it's like still that's if you ever did that, you would need to eventually at some point get a picture of all of them together.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'd get them all together like actually in one place or not, but certainly I could collage them together. I mean, I had someone commission me for Rolling Thunder, which was one of the washouts alongside Lightning Dust.
Huh.
That's the most, I guess, random character I've ever made. So that tells me that there is a market potentially for that.
I mean, if you remember the studio producer dude from the episode with Princess Colorachura, Rara.
Yeah. Yes.
I've seen a plush of him before. I don't know who made it, because I just can't remember off the top of my head, but it exists. It is out there.
Nice. I've got so many other things I want to do. I want to do more Fallout Equestria characters. I might be getting away from your question a little bit here. I don't know. But I want to experiment more with different poses for my plushies and different like facial expressions, body language, things like that. I want to try more than just making the basic like standing or laying plushie with just smiling face that most people think of when they see a plushie. Like I made the 2 kissing ponies before, the Cheese and Pinky. I really want to do more stuff like that. Stuff where the plushies come alive more. You have more of a personality to them just looking at them.
Kind of like how Me Plush You has, like, it seems like they're the one known for like all 4 legs facing the same direction while they're laying. Yes,
that's super adorable too. But I've got some specific ideas. I don't know if I want to tell everything yet, but I'm working on some patterns that I don't think anyone has ever done or attempted before, exactly what I'm thinking in my head. So I hope it comes out well when I do it. Do. I said do.
Your turn, Rubio.
So I have two goals. I do want to actually try and at some point make a life-size pony. I don't know of what character, but that is like an ultimate goal I'd like to get to at some point, just because, you know, I want to see like that, you know, big snuggleable plush that was created by me around cons and stuff. That's just kind of like big goal I'd like to shoot for at some point. I just would need to really get into good pattern making for that, just because of the, you know, stuff you have to accommodate for.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little bit more feasible one that it would take a lot of planning to do is I actually really want to make a Violette from the comic series.
Mm-hmm.
With using my sublimation printer. So that's kind of another, you know, project I kind of want to do, because I think she's got enough recognition at this point that, you know, she would draw somebody's attention just because of how unique she is, but it's still something that would take lots of planning.
Okay. Melee.
There's a bird on the floor.
Yes, but that doesn't answer the question.
So, Something that phrase the question for me one more time.
Essentially, the pipe dream type stuff that you really want to make, just haven't had a reason to or an excuse to.
This one's actually difficult because whenever I want to make something, I just freaking do it.
That tracks.
I wish I had her go-getiveness.
Well, see, unlike you guys, who you have to actually put time. Well, I don't want to say I don't put time and effort into what I do, but y'all stuff takes a lot of time and quite a bit of effort. So I'd assume it's harder for you guys to like, start a project. Like, I have an idea, I'm gonna go with it. Like, you gotta create your patterns and all that stuff. So when I want to do something, I just do it and I just see if it pans out. And if it doesn't, well, that's my fault. But I guess if there's something. Oh God, you're making me use my brain for this. How about there's something that I've always wanted to do and I finally got around to doing it. I wanted to make lanyards for the longest time.
Ooh.
Because everyone does lanyards, but I wanted to do lanyards my own way, and I finally sent off 20 designs just for some samples to be done. So those are being done, but I'm not saying more about them. I'm meant to be a surprise because no one else knows about them. So
See,
lanyards.
There's perks to tuning into this podcast. You get to hear things that nobody else knows about yet.
I've been putting out sneak peek doodles, but they're like, "Oh, cute doodle, great." I'm like, y'all don't even know. If only you knew. But yeah,
I was about to get upset because I was like, I didn't see lanyards while you were at HarmonyCon, but if they're not ready yet, that makes sense.
Nope, I'm just getting samples done so that they look good. I'm getting pictures done to, gain some interest or some feelers, and then if, because I'm not really, I don't have the money to do it, but if the feelers are good and all the interest is good, then yeah, that's gonna happen. Yay.
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 Okay, so here's the next question. We'll start with Rubio this time, because I've been picking on Peruser this whole time.
Nothing new.
What is, your creative process? If, say, you're starting on a brand new plush, or, I guess in Melee's case, pin or pillow or whatever, what does your creative process look like? How do you start?
So it kind of depends. I'm gonna kind of base it off of if I'm doing a unique plush versus, like a canon plush. So usually it starts out where I will, map out the designs, for embroidery, what kind of eyes do they have, expressions, cutie mark, do they have, special features or whatever that require detail work, what have you. Then I create those and then I go through, the embroidery process, and get the pattern pieces cut out. What's nice is most of the patterns that I use, I actually have, loaded onto my Cricut design space. So my Cricut can cut out my pattern pieces with the exception of anything that I embroider. I have to do that by hand. So. But that cuts a lot of the, hand fatigue and time out of creating anything. And of course, the basic sewing and all that jazz. Basic construction, getting them sewn, getting them stuffed. And then once I get to that point, that's where creating, the unique manes and tails comes in. It comes, with basic sketching of, how does, the pieces have to lay, and then I freehand a lot of it. Well, on a unique one, it's all freehand. And then I'll cut it out of, I use my stabilizer, which is probably not the smartest idea, but it's what I use. And kind of place it and kind of see how it flows, and if changes need to be made, and then is it striped? And kind of pattern it from there, and then test it out. Usually I can get it on the first try. Knock on wood. And I just kind of sew it together, make sure that all the pieces line up, hand sew, and done.
Okay. Melee, your turn.
I have a question. Is there a? I'm watching your stream also. Is there a place where people just send in their questions, or right there in the chat? Because Gup is asking questions.
Ice is going to be collecting all of the questions, and I'll look at what he collects afterwards. And
Okay.
when we get to that segment, I will read out any questions.
Don't worry, Cup. We see you. Go to Peruser. I need to think about this. Pass.
Okay, Peruser, the question has been dumped on your head.
What if I play my Uno reverse card?
God damn it.
Apparently, she has no answer for that.
Okay.
I used my skip, and then he reversed me. That's not fair.
Okay, I'll go next. So my creative process, it depends on whether it's like a commission or if it's something I'm just making of my own volition. So if it's a commission, let's say if it's of someone's OC, what I generally like to do is ask them questions about their OC so I can like get to know their character a little more, what their personality's like what kind of temperament do they have, like what kind of vibe do they give off. And I'll follow that up with questions about like, okay, what kind of expression do you want them to have? What kind of, how should they feel? Because there is like a subtleness to how you put the plush together that can kind of convey certain things like that. Like the way that you tilt their head when you sew it on, or little tiny things like that can make a difference between whether it's a happy plushie or whether he's kind of stern or something like that. As far as the actual process goes, I think Rubio pretty much outlined what most plush makers do. So you find an eye expression that you like, you make a digital file for it, you put it on your embroidery machine, you hoop the fabric, you sew the eyes out, you trace your pattern pieces. So like Rubio and I have been at this for a long time, so we've got stashes of patterns to draw from.
Yep.
And at this point, we've been doing this for so long that if there's a new plush pattern that we need, chances are there's something we've made in the past that we can base it off of instead of just starting completely from scratch. So we're kind of in a good position as far as that goes. But, sometimes every now and then there's something that comes along that's just completely new. Like Rarity's bobbed tail for her punk Rarity. That was completely new. I'd never done anything like that before, so that was like its own challenge. And patterning can take anywhere from 1 day to 6 years to get right.
Did you actually have to time that out? Like, do you know for sure it's 6 years?
Just use my gut. Patterning is the part of the process that can be the most frustrating, but also the most rewarding. It's like once you finally get it right, you feel so good, especially because once you get the pattern down, the rest of it is pretty much just follow the process and do it. The patterning part is what probably the
Uh-oh.
Sorry. That was me.
Oh.
That was me. Sorry. That was something else. And it's hard because when you're patterning something, you're trying to envision something in a 3-dimensional space, but represented in a 2-dimensional space, if that makes sense. And it's so hard sometimes to look at something in 2D and think, how is this going to translate to something in 3D? And that can really put the brakes on your creative endeavors at some point. But you were asking me about the process. For non-commission plushies or non-OCs, a lot of times what I do is I look to artwork to get inspired by. So a lot of the things that I have made, like the stocking ponies, for instance, my Christmas stocking ponies, that started because I saw a piece of artwork with, I believe it was the CMC, in a giant Christmas stocking together, and it was just cute and adorable. And I was like, I bet that would make a really cute plushie. And I just decided to see if I could do it. And that's where that came from. The kissing plushies came because there's no shortage of adorable kissing artworks out there. And I just tried to style them in a way that looked like they were really, really going for it. And it turned out super adorable. Let's see. Clothing. I love experimenting with different clothing from artwork. Like, I've got preferences for clothing that I like, and sometimes it's interesting to try to translate clothing from like an anthro or a humanized depiction and try to make it work for four legs. So, like, I made an Octavia with a sarong, and let me tell you, sarongs are not meant to go on quadrupeds. It does not work as well as you might think, but that was an interesting challenge that I had to work through. But it was enjoyable, and it starts from that kernel of like that spark of inspiration. That's where my process begins, and then I try to make it work from there as best I can. Did I answer the question, or did I get too far away from it? I'm not sure.
I think you answered it, and then you kept walking.
Okay.
So A triple plus.
Now it's Melee's turn.
Okay.
Okay, so like I said, I just, whenever I want to do things, I just do it. So there's no real like creative process. Now, if I guess I'll take this into a pin standpoint. I guess that's also here for what I'm mainly here for. Is so whenever I come up with a new pin, first and foremost, it has to be unique. I don't want to do, like, no offense to any other pin artists out there, but generic cute pose with just pony doesn't really do it for me. I'm like, oh, it's cute pin, great. What makes it stand out? So recently, actually, I'm pretty sure all of you have seen this. I picked I picked 2 seconds out of the show to make a pin of, and it's Celestia with the pile of plushes. When I posed that to my pin group, nobody knew what I was doing. And I'm like, perfect. But I remember that when that episode came out, everyone was talking about how cute that was. Like, oh my god, Celestia has a thing for plushes, yet nobody remembered. So when I put it out, everyone's like, I want this so much! So I try to get creative with what I do. I make it funny, make it weird. And now if you want like an actual process of pins, that's boring, but I just try to keep it weird. I just dropped something. Sorry. I don't know how else to expand upon this. Y'all are more creative than me. Physically creative. I just draw things and then I send it off to have it completed by somebody else. Ow.
Okay.
I actually have a question for Melee about your process.
Oh,
well, because I don't know anything about the process for getting a pin made. Like, how do you find a manufacturer? How do you choose a good one? What goes into making sure that the art you've made makes for a good pin?
So, my process now, there's a picture of it in the slideshow somewhere where it shows it's Zecora around her cauldron. That's like a little step-by-step process that I like putting together for each of my pins. But as far as the process goes, finding a manufacturer first and foremost is trial and error, almost. A lot of pin artists for some reason don't like to give the information that they manufacture, and that's totally fine. You can be stingy. That's great. I don't do that. If you want to know who I go to, great. I'll send them over to you. Hell, sometimes I get discounts on my orders because of the referral. But anyways, it's trial and error. You gotta shop around. I shop around on Alibaba. It's a mainly overseas based app where everything's made pretty much like over in China. So you gotta, first and foremost, you gotta tell people what you want, and then you have to figure out the language barrier to explain what you want, and that's a fun process in itself. But so after you've found your manufacturer, after you've made your art, you gotta also look over your art, make sure it's how they need it. Otherwise, it's just gonna be a longer process to get your crap done. I remember the first pins I ever made they were just small pins of G5. Like G5 wasn't even a thing yet. When all the designs came out, I was like, yes, jumping on this. And then I just jumped into the deep blue sea that was Alibaba, and I was like, all right, and I put like a PSA. Like, I have these. I need you guys to give me the best quote for this many. And for some manufacturers, they require a minimum amount. Some they don't require a minimum, but it will just the price does vary. So after your potential manufacturers have given you their quotes, they will send them directly to you, and they'll give you like a cost breakdown of how much such and such costs for what you got. And you don't want to go the cheapest. Pins are in the game of you pay what you get what you pay for. You don't want crappy pins, but I don't think you need to spend an exuberant amount of money to get pins. So most good manufacturers will send you samples, will send you videos. I actually dealt with one though that used another company's photos and stuff, and that wasn't great. Didn't go at them though, but after you've picked your person, you've gone over the details of what you want for your pin, they will create a proof for you. And the proof is pretty much, I don't know what it's made in, but it's your pin, but what it will look like with the Pantone colors that they have. Pantones are a whole mess of words that I do not want to get into. Oh, if you're looking at the stream right now, it's on the stream. But anyways, but yeah, they have Pantone swatches that they will try to color match what you have for your art as best as they can. And if something doesn't look right, you tell them. If you want to change colors, that's your revision process. Once you okay everything, they send everything off to the designer who designed your proof. Send everything to the factory, and the factory is where they will cut out a mold of your pin in alloy metal, and until I keep switching manufacturers because my first manufacturer didn't send me any progress pics. They just sent me, okay, we're starting your thing, and then I get the finished product. My current one will give me a step-by-step process of where they are. So they will send me the mold, which is your design, sketched out in metal, and then cut out. And if everything looks good, you send it off to have them cut out a bunch of those, and then it goes off to the color process where they'll color everything in. And then they have to electroplate it, which changes the color to the metal you want. Blah, 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 blah. It is a long process. I can say confidently, for me to start a pin and then have pin in my hand is anywhere from 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
Yes. And that just depends on how many pins I have being made at that time. 2 to 3 months will be like either 1 to 2 designs being made. Imagine how long it took for 28 pins to be made. Like I said, never doing that again. But that's if that somewhat explains the pin process, Peruser. There you go.
That was actually really informative.
I need to breathe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, there's a lot of things I condensed. Yeah, I condensed that. This took 2 years of trial and error. But now I can confidently say I have a good manufacturer. They're great. We communicate well. They know how my designs work, and they know how to do what they need to do to make sure my design is as close as they can possibly get it. So it's a process, but it's a great and fun process if if you stick to it and all that jazz.
Nice.
Still stressful as fuck though. Because there are times, and I've had this happen, where everything turns out great. You get final pictures, everything looks good. But it's when they come into you, we're like, wait, what happened? And sometimes that's more waiting because they have to redo them. But it's okay. It's okay for the most part. It's great. Happy to be a pin maker.
So
I don't really say I don't really say I'm a pin maker. I'm a pin designer.
So I feel like this one will apply to the two plush makers a little more.
Oh, thank God!
But
I can breathe. I can eat my nuggies.
Rubio and Peruser, because I know plush making with it not only being 3D but also 3D made of fabric. How many times have you had to look at an OC that somebody wants you to make and go, I can't do that?
A few times. Yeah. Yeah, once with one of your OCs, actually. Nameless. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yes, Gaster.
Gaster. Because he's got the translucent body with a skeleton underneath thing going on. And I believe the closest thing that I suggested even possibly being able to do was like the dissectables. The little toy, who is it? Freeney's Dissectables. I saw somebody make a plush of one of those once. That was kind of the only thing I knew to suggest, but it wasn't really what he looked like. So some things are just kind of not possible in plush form, especially if it's got like translucent parts to it with stuff underneath. I mean, I've had someone just suggest like the most obnoxious, I kid you not, red and black alicorn OC.
For the record, it was not me.
It was not nameless. No. And I think I looked at it and I was like, I don't want to make this. I mean, it was everything that's you just don't want to do. It was just full of spikes and so much intricate detail. It was just ridiculous. And it was like, I could do this, but I know it's not going to look good when it's done. It was one of those kind of deals.
Mm.
It wasn't that I couldn't, though. Gaster, I truly don't think I could do him justice, like at all, in plush form. Anything for you, Rubia? Anything like that?
Well, I know, of course, this was before I started doing sublimation, but like gradients and stuff, I would stay away from those just because I didn't have a comfortable way of doing gradients, or ones that have like 6 different colors that all fade into one, or something like that. Those I tend to stay away from. But with the sublimation printer, it's definitely made it more feasible, because I I did, and I do own an airbrush. I never used it. But I just never really liked the idea that, especially with plush and, people want to handle them, take them, snuggle, whatever. I didn't like the idea that the paint or the dye or whatever could wear off over time. And that just kind of was just like, I really didn't want to get into that. And so sublimation's great.
Yeah, I've seen a few plush makers. Well, they'll have it'll be covered in glitter, and they'll say that they airbrushed it. And all I can think of is oh god, it'll be everywhere.
Oh no, I don't ever use glitter. No glitter.
I've done glitter once, twice, because okay. The glitter that they make now is better than the glitter I used way back when, but it was for the episode with Babs Seed when they first introduced her, when Sweetie Belle gets covered in the gold glitter when they're doing that
now, actually.
And somebody commissioned that from me, a gold Sweetie Belle, and they wanted it glittery. But they had already told me that it was going to be a display piece, so it wasn't that big a deal. But even with that type of stuff, because it's glue based, it had just kind of like a crunchy texture to it. So I brushed it a bit, but it was just kind of like, okay, you asked for it, but
that sounds really gross, actually.
Yeah.
Well, if it was a display piece, I can see it.
Even then, though, if I wouldn't want to move it because it's crunchy. Just don't describe a plush as crunchy.
I mean, if Lumi were here, she'd totally point out she does little glitter things in her eyes now, where it's not on the fabric, but it's on
the embroidery.
Yeah, I asked her about how she does that, and she's like, "Oh, it's simple. She got I don't want to quote her on it because I totally remember. I'm blanking right now, but she does it to where it stays on there and it won't move once it's on there." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cute way to incorporate some glitter in there."
Going back to the gradients thing, has anyone else ever tried dip dyeing before? Like getting
like Easter eggs?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, that's what you do, yeah. I did that for Izzy's mane one time, and it was quite an ordeal, but it did turn out well.
I imagine it took a lot of taking out, dipping, and drying, taking out, dip, take it out, dry.
It absolutely did, yeah. And it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell how well dyed it is at any given point, because
it's wet.
The instant you dip it in the dye, it looks like, oh my gosh, it's so immediately dark with this darker purple. I've ruined the entire piece.
And then it dries.
Well, and then you rinse it, right? And then once you rinse it, you're like, oh, there's hardly anything on here at all. It's all I didn't hardly change it. And it's hard to get that nice fade gradient going with it. It turned out well, but it wasn't a smooth process.
I need to go look at it. If there's any pictures of it, I'd like to see.
And it kind of took all day too, just to. I
imagine it took a minute.
Well, that and you have to heat it to boiling in every stage, right?
Right. Well, I heated it to where it was just barely boiling, the slow bubble thing. So I could still put my latex gloved hands in it, but it was hot enough to hurt.
Ouch!
and I would take the gloves and rub off the liquid from the piece as I was dipping it in, and just keep doing that over and over again. My hands were red at the end of the day.
Okay.
But she turned out well, so it was worth it.
I got another question. We're going to do a couple more from me, and then we'll move to audience questions. But
I like how you didn't ask the artist if there were limitations to what she could do and what she can't do. But all right, that's fine.
Excuse me, artist. Are there any
No,
limitations
it's
to what you
cool.
can
It's
or
cool.
can't do?
That's cool. What was your next question? I actually want to know.
do you have an answer to that question?
I mean, not as creative as how they responded, but I mean, yeah, there are some things I can't do that people have asked me to do. But
Well, then share an example.
no, it's okay. I don't want to anymore. I gotta put myself on blast. I hate doing that to myself. No, I don't want to pass.
You brought the whole issue up, and then
I
you're going to
know!
pass on it?
Yeah, totally. That's totally what I'm doing.
So this is for all three of you. When it comes to whatever your particular area of content creation expertise is, whether it's plushies, pins, art, whatever, what is the best piece of advice that you would give somebody that's just getting started and would like to do the same? We'll start with Melee.
I started out in MS Paint with a mouse and the arrow keys on a keyboard. So it takes it'll take time. You're not going to get everything right away. It is okay to I'm gonna say this. It is okay to reference what you're trying to that's how you get your style. That's how you get your signature style, and that's how you learn how to draw. It's okay to reference. What's another one? Fudge. I'm pretty sure I have more answers to this, but okay. Someone else go.
I guess I'll go.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to be terrible.
Yeah.
Because
Don't be
you
afraid
gotta
to
start
suck.
somewhere.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my first, couple ponies and stuff were terrible. I mean, terrible. I can't even. But it takes practice. It takes determination, I guess. Don't be afraid to fail. And me particularly, don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, if I've learned anything, is the plushie community especially is always more than willing to give advice and, critique and all that sort of fun stuff, if you're looking to, dive into it and start with free patterns, start with cheap fabric, just kind of get a feel for it and work your way up.
Yeah, don't be afraid to suck is the best advice that there can possibly be. But don't be afraid to take pride in what you make too. Even if you think it sucks, it's still something that you made, and it's still the first piece on your path that you're walking. Like, I've still got the very first plushie that I ever made, which is a Pinkie Pie. I could say that she sucks compared to what I am capable of making now, but I don't actually think she sucks. I think she's precious because she's the very first thing I ever did. And I look at her and I think, gosh, what if I had given up in the beginning just because she doesn't look as good as what other people make? Like, what if I had just decided not to do any more after I made her? And then where would I be now? I wouldn't be where I'm at. So take pride in what you're making, even if it's not what you want it to look like yet, because you still got to walk the path, and you still got to make sure you get there. And giving yourself that recognition is part of the motivation that you need to get there.
I also have a little bit to weigh in with this one. That's something as a plush collector that I really appreciated. Hibiscus Stitch was also supposed to be on this podcast, and she got blindsided with guests. But one of the things that I found really impressive when not only did she because I always feel bad when I get something that I've commissioned and it's just kind of like not exactly what I was expecting, and they've already finished it, so I'm just like, yay, it looks great. She actually approached me not that long ago. It was at HarmonyCon, actually. It was like, I made you a plush of your OC, and I want to make you a new one because I've learned more, and it looked derpy. She was so embarrassed when I actually pulled out the plush too.
Aw.
But yeah, don't be afraid to admit to other people that you want, like you've gotten better, that something that you made them was not as good as you would like it to have been. Now, I'm not going to say that you should, remake it for them, but being able to admit that kind of stuff is, you'd be surprised how many people would be more impressed with the fact that you're able to do that. Now, on the subject of things that, has there been anything that any of the three of y'all have made where whether it's like a slight design decision or just the overall thing, where you look at it and go, oh my god, what was I thinking?
So I have a bit of a story here that goes with this. It's not so much what was I thinking, but more along the lines of like, I did something wrong and I needed to take ownership of it and fix it. So, in my early days, this was like starting 2014 and through 2015. So when I make a big pony, I put a wire in the tail so the tail can stay sticking up and kind of perky so it doesn't just like flop loosely. And what I used to use was aluminum wire. It's nice, it's lightweight, it bends really easily in your hands, and it held up the weight of the tail very easily. And it was cheap, it was readily available, and that's what I used in my plushies for a good solid year and a half. Fast forward to TrotCon 2015. I had a couple of plushies for sale that I had them for a little while. Like I'd made them probably for like a few months prior, and I hadn't, I was bringing them to the convention to sell. And a couple of things happened at this con. One, while I was at the table, I was readjusting one of the plushie's tails, and I felt this little snap underneath the base of the tail. This was when I learned a very important lesson about aluminum wire, which is if you keep moving it back and forth too many times, like say to adjust the tail on the plushie, it eventually breaks. And it doesn't really take that many movements of it to break the aluminum wire. And then I wound up with a whole bunch of ponies with a bunch of very fragile tail wires inside. So that caused a very young, inexperienced peruser to freak out. The other thing that happened was somebody brought a plushie that they had bought from me at this convention. They brought it back to me. And they said, look what the wire is doing. So, I don't know I'm going to try to explain this. So, when I ran the wire through the body of the plush, I didn't actually run the wire into the stuffing part of the body. I would just stick it through a little hole in the butt that I would put there, and then I would run it along the back of the plush, like right against the fabric of the plush. Because I didn't realize that, the way the weight of the tail will pull on that, and it will press the wire into the fabric of the back of the plush. And that's why the guy brought it back to me, because he could actually feel it almost poking. He was afraid it was going to poke through the fabric. And it was a very legitimate concern. So I took the plush back from him, and I promised to fix it for him and mail it back to him free of charge. I did not know how I was going to do that at the time that I made the promise, but
Oof.
I figured it out. Now what I do is I run the wire in a big S-shape curve, so it goes in a U shape through the body, like down into the belly and up into the neck. And it's very well supported. That way you'll never feel the wire in there unless you just deliberately tear the plush apart. But what
I need
this
DJ to
resulted
give me one of
in,
your plushes now so I can feel.
I don't think any. None of his should have the aluminum wire in it.
Damn! I wanted to
his are
manhandle
all
a plush.
no. His are all newer, and I'll get to that in just a second. So after both of those things happened at TrotCon that year, I shut my booth down on like mid-Saturday, and I refused to sell to anybody else for the rest of the weekend because I didn't want to do that. I knew there was something wrong with the plushies, and I couldn't handle selling anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did I take that one guy's plushie back home with me, I took all the rest of them home with me. I had like 12 plushies total. I took all of their tails off. I took all of the wires out, and I went shopping for a new wire to replace it with, and it's actually cattle wire, the stuff they use to make the wire fences for cattle enclosures. Let me tell you, if you break that wire, you are trying to break it. Like, you're taking a torch to it. That's the only way you're breaking that wire. It's very sturdy, very stiff. And that's what I've been using in my plushies ever since then.
DJ said Lion Jack has a wire.
Yes, Lion Jack absolutely has a wire. I had to get creative about how I wove it in there on between the braids on her tail so that it didn't show up.
I'm looking at it and it looks it, and I'm like, God damn, how? Woo! Hope that was a fun time.
It was a trip, but yeah, that was something that I had to take ownership of in that moment because I was super scared. And I was like, I felt like a fraud, and then I had like all the imposter syndrome issues going on. This was like 2 weeks before BronyCon, where I was supposed to have all of these plushies, the ones that didn't sell at TrotCon, they were supposed to go to BronyCon with me, and having to do such major repair work on all of them, that gives you a real crisis of confidence, you know.
I'd imagine
And ever since then, anytime I've ever met somebody that bought one of the original plushies from me, I've always offered. I'd be like, I'll replace the wire in the tail for you for free. Because I still feel bad about it to this day. I haven't actually had anybody take me up on that offer, but, you know, I just like making the offer, putting it out there. Because it's like, you know, I made a mistake, I learned from it, now I have to, take care of it.
You know, as a plush collector, you don't really think too much about what's in the tail until you start actually getting like larger plushies, and you realize that like, because I've seen a few where the wire just kind of goes wonky after a very short amount of time, and not necessarily breaking, but it won't hold a shape anymore. I've actually talked to you before about it, Peruser, but I like Rubio's. I don't know what it's called, but it's got it's almost like a spine with the way it's built.
So it's called plastic armature. They use it in like posable dolls and stuff is what most people know it from. And they make it in, various thicknesses. So it just, depends on what you're using it for. But yeah, I discovered that through another artist who I can't actually remember who I discovered it from anymore, but I love using it on, really finicky tails, posable wings, that type of thing.
I know you used it on the Kirin tail of the one that I have.
Yep, on all the Kirin tails that I've made, pretty much since that every and going forward, I use that in all of them just because, their tails by themselves can't support the weight of, the fluffy part. And so I just like that for posability.
Anywho,
I still remember Oh,
Okay.
just one little anecdote. I still remember back when I first was deciding to put something in my tails to hold them up. I asked 3 different plushie makers what they did to get their tails to be held aloft, and I got 3 entirely separate answers from each of them. One of them used the armature stuff that Rubio's talking about. One of them used a straight wooden dowel, and one of them just stuffed the tail really firmly and hoped for the best.
I think that's what Purple Nebula does. Because
Which?
the really heavily stuffed one, because I have an Autumn Blaze from them, and there's no wire in it, you can tell. But like for the longest time, it would stay erect on its own.
Nice. Some people can do that. I have trouble getting the tails to be stuffed that firmly that they can just hold themselves up like that. So I'm always kind of impressed when I see other plush makers accomplish that.
See, my problem with that is the tail can be as firm as humanly possible, but the part where it attaches to the butt is the first part to go. No matter how much you stuff it.
Yeah, it gets very narrow down in that area, so it'll be easy for it to fail. Anywho, next person to answer the question, and we're going to pick on Melee.
What was the question again?
Has there been anything that you've made or something to that effect? You could use your art as well. That you look at it now and you go, "Oh my god, what the hell was I thinking?"
To say, Peruser, have we gotten to episodes where we've seen Unicorse yet, or no?
What are we talking about?
Do you know who Unicorse is?
Are we talking about Bluey?
Yes.
I don't recognize it, so I'm going to say no.
Okay. Well, we'll get to it eventually, but I have to say, now I'm not going to say I'm not proud of it because I'm happy with what I did, but I'm just like, but I still go, but why? It's my Unicorse Docky that I made, and that was I don't know why. I won't apologize for why. I don't regret why, but I still ask myself why.
Is that weird
because it didn't
dispenser looking thing?
Sure. We'll go with that.
I mean, that fits the parameters of the question.
Because I'm pretty proud of all the other things that I've made. I've been like, oh yeah, that's badass. I like that. I like what I make. I like what I do. Otherwise, why the frick would I make it? So that's the only one that I could really put into the context of the question. He was the first one to sell out. Let's just say that. And he was a part of a BabsCon charity auction because I had to.
Okay.
It had all the vendors and musicians' signatures on it. But yeah, sure. That's that. There's my answer, Chief.
Well, I've got a funny one, and it's funny because it was actually a plush I made for myself because I was testing out a pattern that I bought from a plush artist who was retiring and was selling like their physical patterns that they actually had, but they didn't come with directions or nap directions as far as how the fabric flows and all that. So I just kind of went with how I had done before. And so I was making my OC, and so I don't even remember which direction I have the stretch going anymore. But when I ended up stuffing it, the stretch was not going a proper direction, so it looks like her butt is a camel hump.
Yeah.
And I still have her. I finished her, and she's actually down in my sewing room. But
Hell yeah.
she's my husband always refers to her as camel butt, and needless to say, she's one of those that I look at her and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I need pictures.
I have pictures. I actually, it's kind of funny because I made socks and stuff for her too, so you can't quite tell it's as bad unless you're looking right at her. But it's pretty bad. Well, and the other funny part about when I did that is this was when I still had a smaller embroidery machine, so I had cut the pattern out and then did the embroidery on the cutout pattern and didn't realize until after the fact that I had embroidered my cutie mark backwards. So she's just all sorts of mistakes, but I love her.
Words camel butt.
Camel butt. So
Make her a skirt or something.
there you go.
Okay, so we're gonna get to some of the questions that have been asked. This one is from Cupute. Is there anything you are selling currently you wish got more sales or got more attention on it? Well, we can start with Melee.
Yes. It's the pin that I have currently on pre-order. It's the Celestia and the plushies. There were a lot of great people were like, "Oh my god, that's cute and awesome." They're like praising what it was, but so far I haven't got that many pre-orders for it. That's okay. They're still happening, but it's just like, oh, they all like the thing, but it's just like one of those little disappointment things. Like everyone likes the thing, but they don't want to support the thing. But that's okay. She's still getting made, damn it. She's still on my wall.
I'm really trying to think.
If you don't got any, that's an answer too.
I don't think I have anything because, I mean, I've had plushies that I've had to carry over from one con to the next, but ultimately everything I've ever made has sold. So I don't think I have an answer for the question.
Okay. What about you, Rubio?
Sea ponies. I love making sea ponies, but they're definitely like a hit or miss thing. I mean, I had a poor sea pony rarity come with me to countless conventions before she finally sold at Cider Fest last year. I think I had her for like almost 2 years before she finally sold. And, you know, well, and the ironic part about it was that I actually had a friend who was just like, well, if she doesn't sell by, a couple months down the road, she's like, they were like, I might buy her. And well, of course, it was right after I sold her at the convention that they were like, oh, do you still have her? And I'm like, no, but I have a Sea Pony Applejack that I haven't finished. And so Sea Pony Applejack found a home right after that too. So, but it's one of those that, especially with the new comics that just came out with Sea Pony G5, I really want to make them for one of the cons, but I'm like, is it really worth investing the time and materials into something that might not sell? And I'm just like, but
I buy one.
Okay. The next question, also from Cup. What is the most difficult thing you've made but resulted in a terrific end result? Either sold for really well or got a lot of attention.
Lion Jack comes to mind. That's my knee-jerk answer. Let me look through my gallery here.
Same.
I feel like I've got some good answers.
Okay. Well, while we wait for them to look through their gallery, what about you, Robio? Do you got any off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I'm gonna say when I made Robot Blackjack from Fallout Equestria. She was definitely one of the most complicated ones that I made because each section of her robot legs had to be embroidered, so I ended up embroidering 8 sections. and
Ooh.
and she had glow in the dark eyes, and she just had a whole lot of stuff going on, but she turned out really good. I was really proud of her.
Okay. Peruser, do you got any more?
A lot of what's been really super complicated for me is usually clothing. Clothing is so... I don't know why I can't ever wrap my head around clothing. I like making it, but I hate making it. And it's so...
And I hate making it, and I hate making it.
But I love how it looks when it's done. But I don't know why my brain doesn't figure it out, like how to make a pattern for it. And it's like, I feel like I'm starting from square one every single time I try to make even the most basic of outfit for something.
Yep. I'm right there with you, Bruce.
Now I made an OC for Baron Angle called Carousel, and she has a harness on her, like an actual like horse harness, like that you would use to pull a wagon with. And I thought it would not be so bad because it's not really clothing; it's just like strips of leather, and then you just like put the little clasp things on it, and then just piece it together. I could not be more wrong. So what I ended up having to do, and this is condensing a really long story into a very short story, is I took strips of, it was faux snake skin is what it ended up being, but it ended up looking the most like leather, ironically. And I put heat and bond onto the back of it, and I ironed it onto itself threefold to make a strip of what looked like leather strips for a harness. And then I had to very carefully sew these tiny, teeny little brass clips onto the ends of so many of these different pieces and make sure that they all fit together on her body snugly, just the right way. And it becomes less about patterning and more about measuring to make sure they're all the right lengths so that they're not too loose or they're not too tight. And it was so tedious to do. The end result was fantastic. I loved it. It's absolutely one of my favorite things I've ever made. But I don't know if I could even do it again because I didn't take measurements for anything. I just kind of eyeballed all of it as I went. And I don't know how else to even do it again, except to just do that same process again.
Okay. Melee.
What was the question?
The most difficult thing you've made but resulted in a terrific end result.
Difficult thing I've made. I don't got anything.
Okay.
I have another one.
Okay.
Princess Fluttershy. So the little like strips of, it's supposed to be like Celestia's mane, but it's just in Fluttershy's hair in the actual show.
It's cute.
I don't know how to make it any more realistic other than to just take those strips and very carefully hand stitch them to Fluttershy's mane.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so tedious to do. But it looks fantastic.
It looks good
when it's done.
I've seen it.
It looks amazing, but it takes so long.
I can see it.
Okay, next question, also from Cup. What would be one word of advice when it comes to anyone wanting to get started on making crafts for a living? What do you want them to take away before leaving?
Love doing what you want to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that just like a unanimous answer from everybody?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
so.
ultimate answer.
I mean, why are we all here except we love what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't spend all that time hand stitching Fluttershy's hair
For nothing.
if I didn't enjoy
For
doing
a
it.
modicum of serotonin. Just like
Okay.
Gotta get that dopamine.
idiots.
Okay. Daytona Challenger 70 asks, what is the biggest grind you've done to get merch made?
I think my pin story factors into that.
Lots of very long nights, lots and lots of energy drinks, lots of sore fingers.
I'd imagine so.
Definitely BronyCon 2019. So, learning that it was the last one hit me really, really hard. And I was determined to make it the absolute best showing that I could ever make in my life. And I did. So I started 4 months before the show. And I worked 12 to 16 hours every single day. I took no breaks, took no days off. I don't recommend that because
No.
on like the third month, I found myself in the emergency room for clinical exhaustion, which is not fun. You don't want to get to that level.
What did it take for it to get to that point? What happened?
I had a little miniature breakdown.
Ah.
An emotional outburst. That was not me, I'll say. And I made my grandmother very upset.
This is not funny. This is not funny.
It's kind of funny now, but
we can laugh about it now.
I can laugh about it now. Yes. But I got to where I looked at what I was doing, and it was like I had a giggly panic attack. Like,
as Melee dies giggling in the background.
I know, right? So I was babbling, I was incoherent, and it was like my brain was rushing, and I was trying to catch up with it, unsuccessfully. By the way, the only real help that a doctor gives you for exhaustion is to rest.
I'm trying not to laugh.
And I was like, I have 4 weeks left until the biggest, most important showing of my life, and you want me to take 3 days off?
The fuck are you thinking?
I have
Where are you?
17 plushies left to finish, sir. I do not have time for this malarkey. But he told me to take 3 days off. I believe I took a day and a half.
Hey, you didn't have the time.
I ended up with 50 plushies
Oh,
for
damn.
BronyCon, and they all sold on the first day.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
It's one thing I can honestly say is I have absolutely zero regrets about BronyCon 2019 because I know I did the absolute most that my body and mind could ever possibly
did that
do.
shit. I'm I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of
awesome.
me too.
Okay.
But
I needed that.
I also learned a lesson. The absolute limit of what my body is capable of. So I try not
It's
to
3
do
months.
that anymore.
It's not a great idea. So next question is more for melee.
Oh, okay.
It's from Ice. What's the difference in cost between 1 pin and 100? I.e., how much of the cost of a pin is design, mold, and testing versus direct materials and labor on the final product?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. I'm like, wait, what? I'm trying to figure out how to phrase my answer.
I think the question, if I had to boil it down, was basically: is it cheaper to buy 1 pin from a manufacturer, or is it cheaper to buy 100 pins?
It is cheaper to buy 100, and because I will tell you why. Earlier, I was talking about how they, cut your design out into metal. It's called a mold. That is a huge block of metal, and they use one block of metal. Now, this is heavy. This is heavy, dense ass metal, so it's not cheap. So they use one block of metal for one design, and that's a lot of waste. They just use it for one design. So they will charge you more if you're making one, because that's just the whole mold right there. That's a lot of money. So it varies on the size of the pin, but a good baseline is like 2.5 inches, 2.5 by 2.5, like a square. So a small square die mold for 1 pin could go anywhere from $125 to $200 just for one. Whereas you can buy the same mold, same size, same everything, buy 100 of those for maybe $250. So that's why a lot of pin makers don't do customs. I mean, if they do, awesome. I want to try to get into customs, but getting people to understand why it costs so much to get one thing done is sometimes more of a it's a pain to deal with. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay.
Silence is deafening.
So next question is there's another from Daytona Challenger 70. What was the biggest inventory you've all ever brought to a con, and how bad was it getting/making all of it?
I think that was literally my entire previous story.
Yeah, I don't know if you can top 50 plushies at one con.
I can't. I'm out. Next.
Hang on, let me actually math this. Give me a second. While I do math, or are you mathing too?
Rubio?
Okay, I guess I'll go. I don't remember exact counts. I know my very first convention, Everfree 2014, I had 42 plushies. Then my second biggest one, I think, was BronyCon 2016. I had, around 40 or so. I don't remember the exact number, but those were probably my most, decently stocked cons.
Okay.
What was it like for you making that many plushies for a con?
Well, so the first time actually was kind of nice because I'd just gotten laid off from my job. So I had lots of free time. So it was a lot of, that was Everfree 14 was my very first convention. So I had no idea how it was going to go. So, it wasn't really like a huge stressor or anything. It was just kind of like, okay, let's see what I can get done. Except, of course, I made the mistake of sewing them all, getting all their manes and tails done, and then hand sewing them all back to back. That was a bad idea.
Your poor fingers.
My poor fingers, yes. The other one, it was kind of half. It was overstock from Everfree earlier that year that didn't sell, so a lot, like half the stock was already done by that point. So, but then I was working, so it was a lot of work all day and then sew all night and back and forth. So, but nothing quite like your story there, Peruser.
I hope no one else has a story like that.
Okay. Melee, did you figure it out?
When the 28 pins I made it for my Kickstarter, and this was right. This was 1,400 pins, so about it's a lot of weight in metal. We had to transport that all the way to Everfree Northwest, and we were driving, and it was very heavy in the back. I'd say there's that, yeah. Not as traumatizing as Perusers, but it's that. I can feel the pain in your story, dude.
Okay. Next question is from Glowpone3. Just curious if any of the guests will be at EFNW this year. My other question is, are you getting much G5 commissions, or is it mostly G4 or just custom OCs?
It's kind of a pretty healthy mix, honestly. I'm surprised by how many people are asking for G5 stuff, if I'm being totally honest. And then, of course, G4 is evergreen, and then OCs are more popular than ever before. That's my experience, anyway. As for Everfree, I don't know if I'm going to be there or not, but I would like to.
I'm gonna pretty much go with exactly what Peruser said. I mean, it's a healthy mix of pretty much all three. I can definitely say that as far as con stuff goes, G4 is definitely still alive and well. It's definitely been a more popular mix I've seen, as opposed to just, one or the other. And Everfree, I really hope to be there if I get accepted.
Okay.
I mean,
Melee?
from an art standpoint, it's mostly custom. I think in my time of doing art, I've gotten very far and few between ads of any G4, G5, any character art. It's all been custom, which, hey, it's cool, fun. Everfree, I'm always at Everfree, vending or not. It's not but a 20-hour drive from us. That's cake at this point. So yeah, we'll be there. Only 20 hours.
Only 20 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one is from Harrison Peloso. Have any of you ever thought about vending for a single FurPoc-Con or anything in Connecticut? I've never heard of the convention, I'll be entirely honest.
Where's Connecticut?
Up north.
I think it's in Asia.
It's up.
I was in Antarctica. I don't know.
It's up towards New York, I think.
DJ,
if I remember correctly.
He's watching.
I haven't been to the East Coast since BronyCon.
Same.
I went to Boston to see My Chemical Romance.
Let's just say I won't be there. I'm not going to be there unless I need to be there. I have no.
Okay.
I have a reason to be there.
Next question, Glowpone3 again. I thought of one more. what is the single most important tool you use that you had no idea existed when you started out?
I have two, and they are life-changing. A walking foot for your sewing machine, and hemostats for turning your pattern pieces.
Oh boy.
Please explain.
I don't have either of those things.
Life-changing. Life-changing.
A walking foot?
Okay, so what a walking foot does, especially with Minky, because it's so slippery and stretchy, what a walking foot does is it adds extra traction onto your sewing machine, so it evenly feeds the material through. It makes things so much easier. And hemostats, of course, most people know is what they use, during surgery and stuff. They're just really fancy, like, plier type things that come in different sizes, and yes, exactly. And they make them. I think I bought a pack of like 14 in various sizes, itty bitty tiny ones to really big thick ones, and they make like stuffing and turning pattern pieces and all that stuff so much easier.
I never actually thought about using forceps for something like that. That's actually really interesting.
I'm actually curious, what specifically are you using the forceps on? Like, what part? The pinning part? Or...
No. So, like, after you sew your pattern, you're flipping it right side out, when you have, like, really fiddly pieces, like wings, for example, or, stuff like that.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you reach inside and pinch it.
Yep.
Oh, that's so much nicer than how I do it.
With your hands?
Well, with my hands, or with, I have an old, mechanical pencil. Like, not one of the modern ones. They've got, like, the grippy things on the front, and they're too fat. It's one of the old ones that just basically looks like a pencil, and it's, like, nice and thin and narrow. That's what I use, and then sometimes I've gotten super creative, and I've just, threaded a needle, like, really super big with a ball on the end, and then just, like, run the needle through the point, and then, like, pulled it through that way.
I think you would benefit from some hemostats there, Peruser.
I think so, too.
Yeah, you can get a deal on Amazon, I tell you.
They should be relatively cheap, too.
I actually have a pair. I've just never thought to use them for that.
Well, there you go.
To answer your question, I guess the tool that I use that I never thought about was a stuffing stick. It's just a little bamboo rod that you use to stuff into the little nooks and crannies of things. I never would have thought of that as being a tool that you use at all, and yet it's completely invaluable for getting the tiny little places stuffed like you want them to. Fun fact, when you make a life-size plushie, you find out that you need a really big stuff stick.
Yes.
And the best thing that I found was I went to the grocery store, and I got a set of the long-handled wooden spoons. And it actually works really well.
Learn something new every day.
I have a similar idea, except for they're just long wooden dowels that I got from Hobby Lobby, but they're like a half an inch. They work great for the bigger plushies.
Melee, do you got anything?
I recently found a tree tool in software, and it's changed my whole world.
You cut out for like half of that. What did you say?
I said I recently found symmetry tool on my drawing software, and it totally changed my whole world.
Ooh.
I don't have to copy and paste anymore. Well,
what does it do?
It's symmetry. So you only have to draw on one side of the paper, and it automatically copies transfers on the other side. So everything is symmetrical. I've always had to, if I was trying to have something looking straight on at you, I'd always have to draw one side of the face, copy, paste it, and then I'd have to readjust and all that. It just took way too much time. The symmetry tool just made things a heck of a lot easier.
Understandable. This one's going to be 2 questions, Rubio. First question: you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, from many moons ago.
Okay. Harrison Peloso wants to know what you plan to do to celebrate 14 years on YouTube.
God damn! You're prepubescent!
Yeah, and I haven't posted anything since 2008. I have no idea, nothing planned. Maybe I'll actually do a live stream, who knows?
Well, if you need somebody to hang out with for that, let me know. I do lots of live streaming, so. It appears to be all of the audience questions. I'm gonna go take one more look in the chat, make sure we didn't get any while we were. Harrison Peloso asked if you guys go to Winnie City, because I won't be going to any conventions until HarmonyCon. If you guys go to Winnie City, it's fine if he comes say hi.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. If I end up getting to go.
I'm not seeing any other questions. So I think that will be that for tonight. For those of you that were watching that and you enjoyed that, would like to see more of it, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all that good stuff. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description. We have all the social links for all of the people that are in the or not the audience, the all the guests. I can English so good. There's also the links for my Discord and Patreon, so check those out. If you want to be able to hang out on stage with the guests and myself, we normally hang around a little while longer after we get done and chat, make fun of each other, all that good stuff. Check out the Patreon. Starting at the $5 tier, you get to be able to not only recommend guests and topics, but also sit in on the stage and listen from the stage. Other than that, I think that for now that'll be everything. If you guys are interested in my D&D streams, we will be having a Lost Memories tomorrow, and Heart of Darkness will also be back on Sunday. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great evening, and don't forget to drink water.